Coming up on tonight's show, Elon Musk claims he wants to save money for the U.S. government. So why is he picking through $1 million condom shipments to Africa instead of going after a certain government entity with trillions of dollars of missing money? I'll tell you where we can find that money and where you can get those condoms he's throwing out. The U.S. taxpayer is being robbed for your pleasure. Plus, I'll rip apart right-wing gnome Ben Shapiro in a one-on-one debate he doesn't know we're having. But not knowing things is one of his favorite things to do. All that and more starting right now. Welcome to Unredacted Tonight. I'm the most censored comedian in America, Lee Camp. President Trump and Elon Musk are saving money for the U.S. government and thereby the U.S. taxpayer. I knew Daddy Trump cared about us. He was just waiting for the right time to show it. Eric Trump has that same thing sewn inside his bedsheets. Elon Musk and his Doge team have claimed they have already cut out $65 billion of waste and fraud, equaling savings for the American people. Incredible! I'm going to invest my cut of the money in an up-and-coming fad called fidget spinners. They're going to be the next big thing to all end up in the ocean. Oh, forgot to mention, everything Musk said is utterly false. Some of the biggest errors in savings Doge has claimed is a USAID contract for $650 million that was listed 3 times by Doge, a Social Security contract listed as $232 million instead of $560,000, and an ICE contract that Doge listed as $8 billion when in reality it was $8 million. But confusing millions and billions is an easy mistake to make. Kind of like when I was saying I had slept with 3 million women and it was three women. But everyone had fun. But we can't laugh at all of this money Elon Musk has grabbed for you and me. If you did distribute that $2 billion or so in savings across taxpayers in America, which is what Elon Musk has said he would like to do, it would basically come to $2.42 a person. Boom! $2, mother. And who says having a white supremacist bobblehead with a breeding fetish as a de facto ruler of the country doesn't have benefits? Eat it, all you haters out there who don't have $2.40. And nearly 40% of contracts canceled by Musk's Doge are expected to produce no savings. Yeah. The truth is, Elon Musk and Donald Trump don't care about saving money any more than the Real Housewives of New Jersey care about Doctors Without Borders. What Elon and Donnie are up to is just a charade to shred the social safety net, public education, the judicial system, and a bunch of other things. If they, or anyone, actually wanted to save money for the U.S. taxpayer, there is one place they would turn. JCPenney, where the savings are out of this world. Thank you, JCPenney, for sponsoring this show and providing a single location where I can get a blouse, a spatula, and a remote control car, but not much else. Actually, the one place Trump and Musk should look to cut waste is the U.S. military, which has a nearly $1 trillion a year budget and accounts for around 50% of all discretionary spending. And while Trump has made comments about decreasing the Pentagon budget, he also has said he never knew Jeffrey Epstein, and he has a great head of hair, and he currently has a six-pack. It's just hidden under 70 pounds of Popeye's biscuits and gravy family buckets. What I'm trying to say is there's no sign he's heavily cutting the Pentagon budget. The Senate Budget Committee's resolution calls for a $150 billion increase in defense spending over the next decade, while the House is calling for a mere $100 billion more. But maybe that $1 trillion a year that the Pentagon gets is going to good use. For example, right now, the U.S. military is looking to pour money into the renovation of 35 golf course sand traps at the Woodlawn Golf Course at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Well, okay, so they have some golf courses. Big whoop. I see nothing wrong with cutting school lunches for poor children while the Pentagon has 3 or so golf courses. The Intercept counted about 145 golf courses, although that is something of an understatement. 145 golf courses! Holy mother of George Foreman! But not to fear, Doge has been cutting some military personnel. There are calls from DOJ to cut as many as 80,000 jobs from the Department of Veterans Affairs, while the U.S. military's golf habit is not on the chopping block. Yes, PTSD now stands for good luck getting medical treatment. I know it's completely different letters, but the young soldiers don't know that because we've gutted public schools. I can't believe Trump puts up with this garbage from the Pentagon. Why wouldn't Trump say, hey, dickheads, no more taxpayer money for golf? Oh, right. President Donald Trump reportedly played at least 289 rounds of golf at a cost to taxpayers of at least $150 million for travel and security during his first term. Yeah, dude loves spending taxpayer money to stand on a hill and swing at a little tiny ball. Oh, so cute, a little tiny ball. Oh. But the truth is, I'm burying the lead. The main story here now and for years is the $21 trillion of unaccounted for financial adjustments at the Pentagon and Housing and Urban Development. Economists Mark Skidmore and Catherine Austin Fitz, former Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, conducted a search of government websites and found similar reports dating back to 1998. While the documents are incomplete, original government sources indicate $21 trillion in unsupported adjustments have been reported for the Department of Defense and the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the years 1998 to 2015. That includes $6.5 trillion in 1 year alone. And that number is much higher today than it was in 2015. There is more than enough savings in the Pentagon to do anything the American people want. But let's take a quick moment to try and understand what $1 trillion is. I'll quote some two-bit hack named Lee Camp, who wrote an article about this a while back. Picture a stack of money. Now imagine that the stack of dollars is all $1,000 bills. Each bill says $1,000 on it. How high do you imagine that stack of dollars would be if it were $1 trillion? It would be 63 miles high. 63 miles high. That's higher than Snoop Dogg riding on Alex Honnold's back. And to get to 21 trillion, we're talking a stack 1,323 miles high. This is the single greatest money laundering scheme ever created in the history of humans. And yet it's a smaller story than how a TikTok cook spends her Sundays. That was the front page of the New York Times this week. I'm not kidding. Trillions of dollars lost to the Pentagon, not important. In one of the only in-depth pieces written on the $21 trillion, Dave Lindorf reported in The Nation magazine, for decades, the DOD's leaders and accountants have been perpetrating a gigantic, unconstitutional accounting fraud, deliberately cooking the books to mislead the Congress and drive the DOD's budgets ever higher. DOD has literally been making up numbers in its annual financial reports to Congress, representing trillions of dollars worth of seemingly non-existent transactions. When this story started gaining traction in 2018, some dumpster fire media outlets tried to run coverage by saying, it's not fraud, it's just accounting errors. Those poor Pentagon generals were just making loads of accounting mistakes, probably while hitting a little tiny ball. No, this is not an accident. One mistake, fine. Trillions of mistakes, that's a plan. It's like saying you had sex with 21,000 wild donkeys because you tripped and fell. 2 or 3 donkeys, sure. But you get to a dozen, you have some splaining to do. Even a Forbes article on the $21 trillion said, let's recall that this is not simply a matter of boring accounting. Trillions in unaccounted outlays, if that's what's involved here, is trillions of our tax dollars being spent without our knowledge. If that's the case, we're talking about the biggest government financial deception in the history of the country. You know how else you can tell when a massive fraud is intentional? When there's a cover-up. So is there a cover-up? I'm glad you asked, Lee. Indeed, more than 16,000 records that might reveal either the source or the destination of some of the $6.5 trillion in a single year had been removed, the Inspector General's office reported. And much like the Lord of the Rings, prequels, sequels, requels, and nyquils, it only gets worse. The Pentagon has failed all 7 of their audits. And when they fail these massive audits, sometimes they tell the public something useful. For example, at the last one, the Pentagon admitted they can't account for 63% of their nearly $4 trillion assets. They can't account for 63% of their shit? I have a drunk uncle like that, but he runs an adult toy store. Losing track of a box of nipple clamps is a little different than losing Black Hawk helicopters. And I know what you smarties out there are saying, Lee, the Pentagon is not missing real things. These are unaccounted for financial adjustments. It's not a lost helicopter or stuff in a warehouse or something. Yes, it is. In fact, it's the whole warehouse. In 2019, the Navy located a warehouse that was mysteriously absent from its property records. Inside the warehouse, the Navy found $126 million worth of spare parts for the P-8 Poseidon, the P-3 Orion, and the F-14 Tomcat, the latter of which the Navy retired in 2006, over a decade previous. And that's just the warehouse they found. And then other times, the military just loses literal pallets of money. During the Iraq War, they sent $12 billion of shrink-wrapped cash to Iraq and never saw it again. I wonder if they tried putting up lost money posters on lampposts. Hey, have you seen this bundle of cash? She answers to Schnookums. Please bring her back to us. Why does the mainstream media almost never cover this unbelievable fraud? Well, maybe it's because they have smaller balls in the game of golf. Little tiny balls. They're afraid to reveal the truth. I wrote one of the most viral articles about this topic, and not long after that, I became one of the most suppressed and censored comedians in America. After doing his excellent investigation for The Nation magazine, Dave Lindorf found himself pulled aside for special screening at Heathrow Airport. This happened more than once. When he got home, Lindorf called the Department of Homeland Security to speak with a press representative who said that it sounded like he had been put on one of 3 or 4 federal terrorist watch lists. So, investigate Pentagon fraud and waste, and you might be declared a terrorist by the U.S. government. But don't worry. Elon Musk says cutting Social Security for your 90-year-old grandma will make us all happier by saving us loads of money. And that way, the Pentagon gets to keep their 145 golf courses, 112 of which they can actually account for. And now, please welcome to the show, spokesperson for the Donald Trump Bootlicker Fan Club and proudly celebrating his bar mitzvah in just a few short days, Ben Shapiro. We all know he's brilliant. In fact, I call him Ben Shap Hero because he is a hero, which if you're not careful sounds like Ben Shat Hero. And in a way, that's true as well. He's the hero of bullshit. Ben, tell us about Trump's plan for Gaza.
All of the conventional wisdom, all of the State Department approved conventional wisdom for decades has led to full-scale disaster in the Middle East. It has led to an intractable, multi-decade problem of a radicalized Palestinian population that supports terrorism rather than any regime that would actually allow for peace, prosperity, and the building of a livable life.
Yes! Thank you for finally saying it. Palestinians are radicals for all of that living there they've been doing. While the IDF, which has directly killed over 48,000 people over the past 18 months, are the calm, rational, normal folks. They're so chill. They're like listening to Simon and Garfunkel wrapped in a blanket, drinking hot cocoa. Not radical at all. If mass murder of women and children in the tens of thousands, assassinating journalists, bombing every hospital on the map, and torturing UN employees is considered radical, I guess we're all radical. I mean, who hasn't done those things?
And in response to Hamas killing 1,200 Israelis and taking 250 into captivity.
Listen, Benny, you know I love you. You are right about everything, which is amazing. But you slipped up on that 1,200 number. As has been endlessly documented, including on this show, Israel killed hundreds of Israelis on October 7th. As Israel Hayom reported, data has been revealed that shows that during the fighting on October 7th, the Air Force fired 11,000 shells, dropped more than 500 heavy one-ton bombs, and launched 180 missiles. But who knows? Maybe they were firing one-ton bombs at squirrels or a surly raccoon. Okay, so you got that number wrong, but no worries. I'm sure that's the only time you will ever get something wrong. Anyway, Benny, you've talked about how Trump is amazing because he goes against conventional wisdom. And, oh, so true. For example, conventional wisdom, use a toilet. Trump doesn't care for it. That's why he wears each of his $1,000 suits only once. Anyway, what other conventional wisdom has he gone against?
The conventional wisdom that if the United States actually moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel and the Jewish people, that if that were to happen, then the entire Middle East would go up in flames. And it turns out nothing happened. Nothing.
Yes, nothing happened after Trump moved the embassy. There has been peace and harmony in Israel and Gaza and the West Bank. Ever since then, nothing happened. Also, did you say Jerusalem is the eternal capital of the Jewish people? What? Do we have to move there? Because I'm Jewish and my eternal capital is, I don't know, maybe Richmond, Virginia? Jameson? No, Johnny Walker Blue, I think. I'm sorry. When did we decide this? Was there a Jew meeting I missed? Can someone send me the minutes of that? Because, just the important stuff. I don't need to know that Jake again asked everybody not to leave their dirty coffee cups in the sink. I get it, Jake. I don't need that stuff. Just action items.
At this press conference, he made the announcement that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip.
Yes, amazing. Love it. So what are the details?
Would take over the Gaza Strip.
Now, I don't know what this looks like in practicality, and President Trump didn't spell out any details.
Yes, my favorite kind of genius plan is one with no details. And my favorite kind of ethnic cleansing is vague, fly by the seat of your pants. Who knows what's going to happen next kind of ethnic cleansing. Not this lame-o, by-the-book ethnic cleansing. Everyone's always like, you're not doing it right. I'm like, I'm doing my thing. Come on. That sucks.
Okay, so everybody who is against this, I have a question. What is your alternative? Seriously, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, shit. He's right. There's no alternative to genocide. Damn it. I never even thought of that. Genocide is just a fact of life, folks. Like aging and taxes and Law and Order SVU. It's always there. Hold on, let me think for a second. An alternative to the mass murder of tens of thousands of innocent people followed by ethnically cleansing the entire area. Wait, no. Wait, what about not doing that? What about doing literally anything else? Nah. So, tell us more about this awesome plan, Shat Hero, my hero of Shat.
And just imagine for a second if, wait for it, President Trump was actually right, since he has been right on the Middle East many times before. Imagine if this actually became an economic development zone where there were, in fact, hotels, where there were, in fact, casinos, where there were houses and schools.
Oh my God. That's so true. Just imagine if there were houses and schools in Gaza. There have never been houses or schools there before, except for the 85% of schools in Gaza that Israel bombed. I love this travel-sized Ben Shapiro fella. He's not afraid to blow up a school and then say, imagine if there were a school here. That's what I call bold decision-making. It seems clear he's destroyed all his brain cells by snorting whippets, but he's not afraid to say, imagine if there were brain cells here. You go get them, Benny.
So he was asked about his plan for the Palestinians. And what he said is, listen, if you want to leave, you should be able to leave. So the plan is that if you want to go, you should be able to go elsewhere.
Yeah. Why don't they leave? I hadn't thought of that.
You know, this bizarre idea that people need to be trapped in this zone.
Oh, they're trapped there. That's why they don't leave. But who's trapping them there? Is it the defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles? Or perhaps those flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz? Oh, it's Israel that has trapped them there. That was a head scratcher. Thought maybe it was Judge Judy for a second. She's pretty tough.
There's polling data, by the way, showing that a huge percentage of Palestinians, if they could get out, would want to.
Boom! Brilliant point. It's kind of like how I saw some excellent polling data during World War II showing that most folks in Auschwitz would have wanted to leave if they could get out. Similarly, if you knew someone who enjoyed living in a certain neighborhood, they grew up there, everything they'd ever known was there, they really liked it, but then you bombed their house, killed some of their family, cut off their water and electricity, you'd be surprised how quickly they'd tell you they'd like to leave. And the fair and honest thing to do would be for you to let them leave and build a casino where their house used to be. That's what good people do.
Conventional wisdom is you have to keep millions of people suffering in an area dominated by terrorism so that what? A terror state can be built?
Yes, exactly. Conventional wisdom is you have to keep them there while terrorism rains down on their heads. That's immoral. For example, when there's a school shooting, the proper course of action is to move everyone out of the school and then let the shooter move in there permanently and enjoy themselves. End of problem. Some negative Nancy's might say you should arrest the school shooter. But in the case of Gaza, who would that be? We don't know why Gaza is so destroyed, much like the city of Atlantis. It just happens to be that way. Maybe rubble was shipped in from overseas. No one knows. To sum it up, what I think Penny Boy is saying is when ethnic cleansing has gone this far, it just needs to be completed. And who's better at that than the United States of America? Just give us a call and we'll be there in a few hours. We're like the Amazon of ethnic cleansing. Well, thank you, my genocidal leprechaun friend, for clearing this topic up for all of us. And here are your headlines from the future. Coming up in 3 weeks, you'll read Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent spotted swimming in Treasury Department's giant pool of gold coins without clothes on. And in 1 month, you'll hear Argentina's economy struggling after President Javier Milei replaces country's currency with high fives. And in October, you'll learn the White House reportedly so insane that Donald Trump Jr.'s new 14-year-old girlfriend wearing Hello Kitty pajamas, not even a story. And a shocker from the BBC, you'll hear in 2 years, China perfects time travel, but wasn't planning on telling the US until they calmed down a little bit. That's the show. But before you go, do you feel like you got 2 cups of coffee worth of good times and info from this show? Then become a member for $6 a month at leecamp.net or patreon.com/leecamp. Plus, you get all kinds of perks, including my ebook, Dangerous Ideas. I honestly can't do this without you. So thank you for the support. Also, tell your other favorite shows that they should have me on as a guest to come talk about Unredacted Tonight. Harass them. Seriously, put it in the comments. Annoy them. It works. Until next time, remember, the revolution will have laughter. Keep fighting.